Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Hello good people, I'm Adila. I'm the student of English Department Education University of Ibnu Khaldun Bogor. Now I'm in the 4th semester. So everyone, today in this video, I'm gonna give my perspective or giving my opinion about the learning process during pandemic era. And yeah, this is my final task for my lecture, Mrs. Annie. Hello, Mrs. Annie. Hopefully you always healthy and happy. Amin. So without further ado, let's get started. Well, everyone, we all know that the emergence of the COVID-19 virus attack pandemic began in one of the countries in the world, that is China, at the end of 2019 and spread throughout around the world, one of them in Indonesia. And everyone, one of the biggest impact of the COVID-19 virus on the world of education is the delay in the teaching and learning process for all educational institutions around the world. In the end, the whole country decided to have an online schools or online learning, both for the elementary school level and up to the university level. All educational institutions in the world choose to hold an online learning in order to maintain safety and ensure the health of each student. Because with online learning, we know students do not need to go out of the house or interact with people around them. And next, I would like to give my opinions or my perspective about the learning process during pandemic era. I mean, besides of the advantages, of course, there is disadvantages of every learning process during pandemic era. So for the first point is about the flexibility. Well, everyone, in case of online learning, there is a lot of time of flexibility that happens. I mean, that we don't need to set a schedule or time. So by always holding or monitoring notification from our smartphones, we can immediately follow the ongoing class. Meanwhile, when we are on offline classes, we have difficulty managing time. For the example, it's like we should waking up early so that we are not gonna late for class in the morning. So the point is, I mean, when your online learning is more flexible because you can immediately take classes anytime and anywhere, but when it's offline, you have to set a schedule. So you're not gonna late for class in the morning. On the second point, I think it's about learning style. When online learning, automatically the way you're learning is more relaxed because you are a freedom to determine the way of learning that you want or suits for yourself. For example, you can listening song, eating snack, or even lie down in your room when online class going. I think even not every students are gonna be like this, but some research said some students are gonna be like that when they do an online learning. Meanwhile, everyone, when you study offline, you will be more disciplined, of course, because you are in classroom that contains students and lecturers can directly monitor how your study was. For example, such as you have to sit up straight and cannot eat carelessly during offline classes, and I think that makes you more disciplined. On the third point, in my opinion, it's about learning techniques. When online learning, the technique classes is usually students use notes on their cell phones to write something, or they save all the data that has been shared by the lecturer without writing in their own books, everyone. So because students usually save all the material that has been shared by their lecturer on their cell phones, and it's usually, I think, the material that is shared is in the form of modules, and I think it's more economical because you don't need to buy the book, of course. Meanwhile, when you have offline classes, you have to bring your personal notes. It's like your diary and rewrite by yourself what the lecturer has said. But the benefits that you got is that can improve your memory of that material because you write it down in your own notebook. And on the second point, it's about the assignments that your lecturer has given, such as paper-based versus paperless. So I think in offline learning, you have to print all the assignments you have done, and that is a bit of a waste of paper, I think, because however online classes it can be a bit more efficient because there is no need to print out all the tasks that have you just do it or you just done. Just share the task that have been done with the WhatsApp group, like WhatsApp application or learning management system LMS, without having to print them. And I think this can also include Go Green because it reduces papers. Next, on the next point, I think it's about more economical. I mean, of course, when offline class, it will be more wasteful because um, usually you will eating snacks with your friends more often or go to hang out with your friends, and that all will make your money more wasteful. I mean, you also have to buy some books when you have offline learning. But when there is online learning, you can save your money more. After all, you don't have to go with your friends because you guys are at home, right? So I mean, you don't meeting them, and also you don't need to buy books because in online learning, usually the lecturers will share the materials in modules form. Yeah, your lecturers gonna share the materials in modules form that have been provided by the university, and of course this will save your money more. But on the other side, in online learning, I think you will find so many problems such as limited or sometimes unstable networking connection, and also wasteful of data quota internet, of course. And the last point, in my opinion, I think is about the effectiveness, everyone. So, I mean, in the case of online learning, there's so many students complain that there are some materials that they cannot understand easily, like they are confused about the material that has been explained by their lecturer because of several factors such as unstable networking problems. That's why making some materials is more difficult for students to understand when online learning going on. Meanwhile, everyone, according to the Ministry of Education and Culture, the data survey state that I think it's about 90% of students prefer to study offline because they can ask their lecturers directly when they don't understand on something or when they don't understand on the subject materials. And of course, the students agree that explaining the material offline, of course, is more understandable, it's more comfortable and enjoyable because they can sharing with their friend. I mean, it's like share the opinion, share the materials, like you guys can have a discussion with your friends in a class, of course. So everyone, the point is, I think between online or versus or offline learning, they both have advantages and disadvantages. Whether it's online or offline learning, it depends on ourselves how to respond to it. I mean, everyone, beside the disadvantage of process online learning during pandemic era, I mean the process learning during pandemic era, it has give some benefits for students, such as there's some students in Indonesia, maybe during pandemic era they has already knowing more about how to use technology properly for their future, such as some application they have doing self-directed learning for their self. So everyone, if you are really serious and always disciplined in studying during pandemic era, then you feel the effectiveness and you're gonna get a good result as long as you really mean it and discipline in learning. So that's it for me. That's my perspective about learning process during pandemic era. Thank you for your kind attention. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.